Hi, you've reached the punchline with the Comic Strip Critic. I'm not in right now, but you can leave a message at the beep. Beep.
Hey Critic, I was wondering if you wanted to do a crossover with me. I had an idea for a review of the Peanuts movie. Let me know what you think, man.
Beep.
Hey Critic, Physicist here. Hope you're doing well. Haven't seen you in a while. I was hoping we would do something together sometime. Need a cameo. Call me.
Beep.
Hi, love your show. Would you please review Garfield?
I've already done that 4 times.
Oh, please do it again.
Beep.
Seriously, where have you been? Were you kidnapped by Link Carr and went on an epic space adventure again?
Something like that. Sorry I was gone for so long, everyone. I was actually on a little bit of an adventure. Had some personal things to take care of, but everything's good now.
Yes, I can tell. What's with all that gear?
Aren't you a voicemail?
Yes, of course.
But if you're a voicemail, then how are you... You know what? Never mind. I don't need to know. I was gone for a little while. I have all this stuff with me because I was actually on a little vacation with Tilda.
Ooh, who's Tilda? Is she your girlfriend? A cartoonist?
No.
A reviewer never heard of before?
Wrong on all 3 counts, I'm afraid. Tilda is actually Text's real name. We went on vacation for a little while. Check out the photos.
So let me get this straight. You named your text after the small wavy line?
No, actually, it's German. It means powerful and mighty in battle, which is quite appropriate for her. Have you ever seen her in a fight?
How can she fight? She's floating disembodied text.
Oh, she's amazing. You gotta check her out sometime. You know what? You get a front row seat. I will pencil you in as her next opponent.
Wait, what?
I gotta go. Take care. See you later.
Wait, no.
Whew. It's good to be back. Now then, let's get this little wagon a-rolling again, shall we? Hello and welcome to the punchline. And finally, the Comic Strip Critic has come back home. Thank you all so much for your patience. I know this has been a long time coming. What even were we doing back in those days? Tilda, did you find that clip we were looking for? Pull it up for everybody. I'm your Comic Strip Critic, and next time, I think we'll keep the spirit of adventure going back in the times of King Arthur. Man, that was a long time ago. No wonder I forgot. Really? We still have the intern here? Anyways, this is a comic that I've been looking forward to introducing you to for quite some time. A true classic of the art form, stretching back for almost 75 years and still going to this very day. A tale of epic Arthurian legend, amazing artwork, wonderful narration, and it comes from the true golden days of comic strips and cartooning. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to introduce you to the adventures of Prince Valiant in the days of King Arthur. In a distant age long past, in the year of our Lord 19-something or other, a young illustrator was fired from his first ever job because he left in the middle of the day to go duck hunting. His furious boss said to him, "You seem to think that duck hunting is more important than business." Hal Foster's response was simple yet genuinely confused. Isn't it? Clearly, this is a man who would have gotten along with both Teddy Roosevelt and Ron Swanson in fine fashion. Having noted Foster's artwork, he was approached by a friend to draw the adventure comic adaptation of Tarzan, which he hesitantly took up the pen for from 1927 to 1937. After his work was received with universal acclaim, including from Tarzan's own creator Edgar Rice Burroughs, Foster proposed an adventure comic that was a little more in line with what actually interested him, not to mention one of his own unique creation. None other than William Randolph Hearst, owner of King Feature Syndicate. Yes, you heard that right, the same William Randolph Hearst who inspired this little cinematic masterpiece, was so impressed by Foster's pitch that he immediately approved of what would become Prince Valiant. In fact, Hearst was so massively impressed by what Foster was proposing that he offered a 50-50 split of all the gross income made off of Prince Valiant during those early years, something practically unheard of back in those days. So, how did Foster's work live up to all the hype? Let's take a look. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Prince Valiant, as originally seen in newspapers in his debut year of 1937. Before our featured tale begins, a quick synopsis. Prince Valiant is serving as a squire to Sir Gawain, the legendary Knight of the Round Table, and together they are on a quest for the fair maiden Aline to rescue her parents from a terrible ogre. Gawain has been injured in battle with an unhonorable knight, staying to rest with a holy man with Aline, and leaving Valiant to forge on by his lonesome. Despite the sinister warning, Val blows a lusty blast on the great horn hanging from the castle gate. Slowly the gate goes up, and a hoarse voice cries, "What fool seeks the deadly society of the Ogre of Sinster Wood?" Stepping aside, the ogre motions to his waiting horsemen to bring in the impudent youth. But the lightly armed prince quickly outdistances his heavy pursuers and, circling, finds a hiding place overlooking the castle. Now, it seemed to Val that the fearful appearance of the ogre was too theatrical to be true, and he gets a bright idea. So the ogre rules by fear. Well, two can play at that game, and Val prepares to enter the castle in the dark. Where do we begin when looking at this? Let's start with something that no screenshot can adequately portray, which is the sheer size of a Prince Valiant comic. The current trade copy that I'm reading Prince Valiant from measures 10 inches by 14 inches. The Prince Valiant comics that appeared in newspapers back in 1937, 14 by 20 inches. And the online digital format for modern day Prince Valiant comics measure a whopping 18 by 28 inches. No matter how you slice it, that's an awful lot of room for an artist's pen to run wild on the canvas. And run wild, how Foster did. I mean, just look at the kingdom of Camelot in this image here. The majesty of the castle on the hill, the colors and energy of the jousting tournament. Heck, this panel is all about Valiant and Gawain reporting back to King Arthur. Yes, that King Arthur, the legendary King Arthur. And there's some of the least interesting things in this panel. Or take a look at this one several weeks later, where Val pulls a Leonidas on his opponents and holds the bridge against a vastly superior force by himself. His bright red cape is silhouetted against the black cave. There's a clear line of action drawing your eye towards Val. It's a magnificently composed comic panel. It's this sort of thing that really makes you miss the days when cartoonists had a whole page in size to work with. Hal Foster's artwork is almost certainly the comic's greatest asset, and although the comic's current day handlers Mark Schultz and Thomas Yates are doing excellent work, it's very hard to match the original style. It's a bit like James Bond. It doesn't matter how good Daniel Craig or Pierce Brosnan are, they're always struggling to get out from under Sean Connery's shadow, and I get much of the same impression here. Back to our story. The young squire catches a goose, climbs the castle walls. Don't you just love how even a nameless mook gets such rich artwork dedicated to him? And from the captured goose, Val starts work on a mask that will make him the most fearful sight outside of Hades. The next 2 pages are my favorite in the entire collection. They're pretty much the entire reason why I chose to highlight this particular storyline, so just sit back and enjoy, my friends. Descending his rope, Val searches every lighted window until he finds the ogre's chamber. Then, mounting to the roof again, dons the mask he has fashioned from a goose. With quills he makes tusks, and the horrid yellow skin is pulled over his head and padded here and there with feathers. Sliding down to the ogre's window, he springs far out, gives a piercing shriek, and into the ogre's room flies a demon riding a staff. "You have fairly earned a place in hell," screams the demon. "When I return, it will be to take your soul to my master." And leaping to the window, flies out into the night. In the dark, the ogre cannot see the rope. Val turns in the air and swings back. "And so my master bids me return for you." Laughing hideously, the demon comes softly toward its gasping victim. With a choking moan, the ogre slowly sinks to the floor, and the heart that knew no mercy for others ceased beating through sheer terror. Through fear you ruled, and so through fear you die. No actor could have staged his dramatic effects better than Val did during that night of horror. Wrapped in his black cloak, he is invisible in dark corners, but his sudden appearances are frightful to the ogre's henchmen. High among the rafters of the dining hall, Val sits through the long day, hungry and thirsty, waiting for darkness and his final act. When darkness falls, the frightened outlaws seat themselves in the dining hall. But not for long. With a scream, the demon sails out of the darkness across the tables and disappears again. Swinging up to the balcony across the hall, Val watches the confusion below. In their fear, they rush to their master, but find him dead with no sign of a wound. I know what you're thinking. Valiant pulled a Batman. You have that backwards. This storyline ran in newspapers in 1937. Batman first appeared in 1939. If anything, Batman pulled a Valiant. And decades later after that, Jack Kirby, yes, that Jack Kirby, took inspiration from this same storyline when he created the character Etrigan the Demon. And several decades after that, Fergal DeWitt took inspiration from this same storyline when he came up with his persona of Finn Balor. Oh, come on, just let me dream. It's just a wonderfully drawn sequence. Great lighting, a highly entertaining setup, a fun little montage sequence as Demon Valiant scares the bandits throughout the day, and the other noteworthy highlight of Foster's style, the writing. There are no speech bubbles, but all the narration and dialogue is right there in the comic panel. It really helps the air of epic storytelling that the strip is aiming for. So all of the ogre's goons flee from the castle in terror of the unholy demon haunting the place. All that is, except for a scant 2, and these 2 give Valiant more trouble than the entire band of bandits. They smartly flank him, forcing Val to hang from a rope, and then Val hangs one of the goons from the rope. "If you don't like my necklace, I'll gladly remove it." Yeah, Val is a good character, but he's of the good is not soft variety. The fight with the last goon gives him the most trouble of all. First, Valiant dodges and blocks arrows, then is forced to swing inside and run from him. Valiant isn't a superhuman. He's an ordinary person. He spent a full day without food and water as the demon, and then he spent hours fighting these 2 guys. But it does show that he's smart, he's clever, he's resourceful, and, well, not in this particular storyline, in other ones you do get to see him as a highly skilled warrior. It makes him a much more interesting and relatable character. In fact, it's only through sheer luck that Val's rope snags on some iron window bars, and he's able to use the leverage to have the last bandit plummet to his doom, albeit at the cost of a nasty bump on the head. But with the castle now completely secure, Valiant is able to free the maiden Elene's father, the Thane of Branwen, no longer captive of the foul ogre of Sinster Wood. Val's first thought is for the maid, Elene, and he tells the Thane of the hermitage where she is waiting. 3 days of hardship with neither food nor sleep have taken their toll, and his work done, the youthful prince collapses. The tender heart of Elene beats wildly when the messenger arrives with the news of Val's heroic deeds, and she hastens to return. Through this storyline, we really get a decent chance to see Valiant in action. His initial attempts at diplomacy, his cunning nature, his entirely mortal limitations which add to the sense of danger he throws himself into, and his quick-thinking combat skills. The liberation of Brandwyn Castle is a wonderfully fun snippet of Valiant's life. This escapade appeared during Valiant's first year of syndication, back in 1937, and he's been edited every Sunday non-stop since then. Hal Faster, yes, he passed away in 1982, but his successors have kept Valiant's legacy alive ever since then. In case you can't tell, I absolutely love this comic. The great artwork, the grandiose sense of narration, Prince Valiant instantly earned my loyalty, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. Until next time, I'm your Comic Strip Critic, and baby, it's good to be back!